Oh, hello, y'all. Welcome to the basement. I'm standing, which is odd. The lighting is bad. My hair is, I don't know, it's like giving high school TikTok boy. You know what I haven't done in a while? I haven't done a Riley Green video. I think it's been 4 years since my last standalone Riley Green video, and I just thought I'd just come shoot from the hip and talk about this new album, Ain't My Last Rodeo. See this shadow? I don't know what to do about it right now. Riley Green continues to be one of the most interesting and least interesting people in all of country music to me. On the one hand, I get a ton of messages from people saying, I think Riley is so slept on, he's so underrated. And I get just as many from people saying, man, he just literally makes the same song over and over again. How is he so popular that he's opening as direct support on the Luke Combs Stadium tour? And I see it both ways too. When you look at Riley Green's music, it is some of the most sort of straight down the middle, country, pleasant to listen to music that is out there.
Bitches all tanned up from that summer sun.
From There Was This Girl to In Love By Now to I Wish Grandpa's Never Died and It Wasn't for Trucks and his current single, Different Round Here, which is now remixed with Luke Combs, because that was actually the name of his first album, Different Round Here. These are sort of unimpeachably nice sounding songs, and thematically they play on the tropes of nostalgia, pride in where you're from, hard work, falling in love, honoring your grandfather. And generally, Riley Green is not known for being a huge risk taker lyrically. He tends to like the same sorts of themes, though there are exceptions to that, namely when he talked about Robert E. Lee and Bury Me in Dixie, which has been sort of a mini on and off controversy over the years, as well as I Hope She's Drinking Tonight, which many people felt not only was not Riley's normal style, but was just kind of freaking creepy. Like, that's not that romantic. Like, I hope she's drinking tonight. People felt like maybe that's like a little predatory sounding. But in general, Riley Green likes trucks. He likes his old boots. He likes talking about how he listened to Hank growing up with his grandfather. Those are Riley Green themes. He delivers them amicably. And let's be honest here, he looks good doing it. You know, I think there's a big element of Riley Green's certainly social media presence that is driven by his looks, his physique. Although it is funny, like you'd think his whole audience would be women, but it's like mostly the boys. The boys are like, we love Riley. I'm really not trying to be that disparaging. I think there is something very comfortable and you know what you're gonna get when you listen to a Riley Green song. Now, for me, it can feel very samey. And that's a little bit sometimes how I felt on Ain't My Last Rodeo. But on the whole, I think this new album, and it's been a long wait for this new album, is pretty freaking good. Now, is it adventurous? Is it going into a way different territory than what I've been describing? Absolutely not. Almost every song on this album references a truck or driving. If it doesn't mention an 84 Ford or an 88 Chevrolet or an El Dorado, not to be confused with an El Dorado, Zach Bryan, or even a Cadillac at one point, a lot of these songs mention headlights or the treads in the dirt or driving. There's a lot of driving on this record. There's also a lot of boots. I think 3 different songs mention his worn out boots. I think 3 different songs mention listening to Hank. And so on the one hand, it's an extremely focused album. Riley knows what he's about. It's kind of about the simple things. And by the same token, you might argue it can be a little bit one note. Even just listen to these titles. Raised Up Right, God Made a Good Old Boy, Different Round Here, Ain't Like I Can Hide It. Like, these are songs that are very much about, I am who I am. I'm a country guy and I like being who I am. And the city folks may not understand it, but that's who I am. Like, you could call it Same Round Here at some points on the album, but that would be cynical to reduce it to that. That's why I'm a little conflicted by how I find this album. I get that we are at a time in society where everything is so polarized and everyone feels like the other side of the aisle hates them. And where one person might say, oh, this is boring to hear thematically, another person might hear that and say, oh, it's so refreshing that this is just an album that is not tortured by how people look at country folks. He's just like, yeah, I like being this person that I am. Because the reality is, they're delivered pretty well. They're mostly very likable songs. They're quite country. This album is replete with fiddle, stringed instruments, no electronic drums. Like, you get steel all through it. It's a very likable sound. And there's more than a few tracks that I actually found surprising and interesting and at least sort of deliver some of these themes in a really cool, unique package. I think there are quite a few standouts on this record, at least 4 that really come to mind. The first is Mississippi or Me.
Or was it the cotton field stretching nearly countywide? them cool deal
I
tomorrows.
feel like this song is almost a flip of tracks like Give Me Back My Hometown. Instead of him sort of reflecting on all the places that he's lost, he's reflecting on how the girl is maybe missing the places where they had their relationship together. And he's asking, are you missing Mississippi or me? Like, do you want the nostalgia of what we had, or do you want me? And that pretty fiddle theme that runs all the way through it. It starts the song, it carries the song. It's so gorgeous and a really hauntingly catchy melody to me. The other track that I would say stands out in a haunting way is the title track, Ain't My Last Rodeo.
This ain't my last rodeo.
I feel like you just can always tell on a major Nashville album when something is a solo write, and this was no exception. As I was listening through the album, I was like, I bet he wrote this. And then you go and you look, and yep, it's a solo write. And it just feels personal. This is a song about his grandfather. It's really like remembering the legacy of his grandfather. And the way that when his grandfather was struggling in the hospital in his older age, he would try to reassure Riley as he was visiting him and saying like, this ain't my last rodeo, I'm gonna be fine. But also kind of imparting advice to him of like, this ain't your last rodeo. Like, you got to keep living life. It's really kind of a song about that male instinct to be tough and how these moments of like intimacy and toughness are really intertwixt when someone is just in a pressure cooker of, like dying, honestly. And I think the lyric also works on the level of where he's talking about how the good Lord's going to call him home because this ain't my last rodeo. Almost like there will be an afterlife for him too. It's not like a big point in the song, but I think it's what makes the lyrics special. Two songs that aren't haunting, but are just kind of fun and I think effective. One is called Workin' on Me.
But baby, don't stop, 'cause it's working on me.
This song has a really flirtatious energy about it. He's asking questions of like, did you know my favorite color was blue when you put that on? Did you know to quote Curtis Lowe because that would appeal to me? He's like, well, whatever you're doing, it's working on me. And usually his music has a tiny bit more of like a rock tinge and a really solid southern sound. And this one feels a little bit more beachy, a little bit more breezy and open. And I think it so works. I've actually been surprised that Riley Green hasn't put out more sort of flirty songs. Instead, it's been things like I Hope She's Drinking Tonight, but I actually think this is a sweet spot and he should maybe like lean into the love songs. There's also a collaboration on here with Jelly Roll called Copenhagen in a Cadillac.
Copenhagen in a Cadillac, spinning mud tires.
And this song is very likable despite the fact that it's almost a retread of Fancy Like. It's sort of talking about being redneck rich, like you're wearing a suit with a camo hat. You're drinking fine wine out of a paper sack. And instead of the mixtape having a little Drake, little Hank, on this one, it's Biggie into Lynyrd Skynyrd. But I gotta admit, Copenhagen in a Cadillac, it is a good word alert, okay? It's just fun to say. It's a likable melody. It is the Riley themes of like, I like who I am. I'm not gonna change. A Mississippi girl don't change her ways. Yeah, that's what this is. A Mississippi boy don't change his ways. Or Alabama, or I never know where he's from. He references so many states. Alabama, Georgia. He's got Georgia Time, Mississippi or Me, Bury Me in Dixie. But wherever Riley Green is from, he is proud to be from there. And I guess one other that I loved was Ain't My Damn to Give, simply because we get this beautiful harmonica going all through it.
But that ain't my damn give.
It's like cool to get a new texture on a Riley album. That's where this one kind of sneaks up on me. Like, yes, there are all the good old boy songs, and maybe I'm just like over those or feel like I heard too many of them over the last decade, but they're fine. But then there are these moments where there's actually a good amount of depth on Ain't My Damn to Give. Damn Country Music, which you may know as the title track of a Tim McGraw record, it is the same song. Riley's rendition of it is solid. They don't make them like that no more is an appreciation not just of the old way of doing things, but of the way things used to be made better, which is a theme like Miranda Lambert really tackled on Automatic, and I think it works great here. So I think generally the album's pretty safe, but half of it is safe but interesting, and the other half is safe but still sounding really nice, and on the whole you're like, I think I like this. This is a pleasant album. Does Riley have any crazy revolutionary thing to say? I don't think so. I have accepted that that is just not Riley's goal. Like I saw on his Instagram the other day that he is now sponsored by Gildan t-shirts. And Gildan, I know them as people that make just sort of the blanks that people print their merch on. And I feel like that is such an appropriate sponsor for Riley Green. Just like the most normal thing in the world. Blank t-shirt maker Gildan is sponsoring Riley Green. That makes sense to me. I feel like he's almost like the NCIS of country music. Probably going to be a pretty similar episode to the one before it. It's probably going to be a pretty good episode. And there's a reason why so many people liked it. I would also say maybe there's a reason why Riley won't be festooned with awards and ever sort of break through in this giant kind of like Morgan Wallen or Zach Bryan way. It's just a very normal type of record. And that is where I get confused at like the utter passion for Riley that some people have, where these bros are DMing me being like, everyone is sleeping on how good Riley Green is. And I'm like, I guess. I think the album for me is like maybe a solid 7 out of 10, which is good. But generally, I'd love to know what you think about Riley Green and you think about Ain't My Last Rodeo. And am I getting it wrong? Am I just too city to get it? Is it because I have TikTok hair and not a mullet that I'm not relating to the good old boy songs enough? You tell me. But that is my take. You can take it or leave it. All right, guys, I'll be back with more videos very soon. Goodbye.